Today we're looking at a beautiful fingerstyle arrangement of your song. Now this is an easy beginner level arrangement as there are no intermediate technical skills needed. You'll probably find that the most challenging parts of learning this arrangement are bringing it up to tempo once you've learned the notes, and a couple of sections that are played higher up the neck. Now these tabs can be played with high or low G tuning, as we're not using our fourth string or our G string at all in this arrangement. We're only using strings 1, 2, and 3, or strings A, E, and C. So let's start off with a demo, and then we'll move into our tutorial. If you're enjoying my tutorials, then I would love it if you subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and leave me a comment down below. Your support here on YouTube and on Patreon enable me to focus full-time on my channel, creating new arrangements and tutorials for you. So if you're interested in tabs or song sheets, then head on over to my Patreon page for the downloads. You'll find the link down below in the video description. Now keep in mind that this arrangement can be played with high or low G tuning, as we're not using our fourth string. So next in our tutorial, we'll walk through the first musical phrase, for the first 9 measures of this arrangement step by step to get you started. And we'll also take a look at the fingering of a couple of sections that are played higher up the neck. This arrangement is in 4/4 time, which means every measure consists of 4 quarter notes. Now we do have some exceptions with a handful of measures that are in 2/4 time. So these measures will have only 2 beats, or 2 quarter notes. Now the tempo is 60 beats per minute, and that refers to the quarter notes. So if you set your metronome at 60, you'll have 4 beats for every measure. Now you may prefer to have 8 beats for every measure. And if that's the case, then you can set your metronome at 120 beats per minute. Here's the difference between counting out the quarter notes and counting out the eighth notes. So looking at measure 1, first counting out the quarter notes will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And counting out the eighth notes in measure 1 will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can choose between counting 4 beats per measure or 8 beats per measure, and set your metronome accordingly to either 60 or 120 beats per minute. In either case, I'd recommend practicing this arrangement at a slower tempo to start off, and once you're comfortable with the notes, then you can increase the tempo. Now let's walk through how to play measures 1 through 9. Starting with measure 1. We're starting this measure on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and I'm using my index finger to play this note. Then we go to the 2nd fret of the 1st string, and here I'm using my middle finger. Then we go back and forth between the open 1st string and the 2nd fret twice. Then we're going to play strings 1 and 2 together, keeping our middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string. And then we'll finish measure 1 playing the 2nd fret of the 1st string one more time. And next we have measure 2. For measure 2, we're starting off once again on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. Then we play the open 1st string twice. Then we go to the 5th fret of the 1st string with our pinky, back to the open 1st string, and then we're going to play strings 1 and 2 together, placing our middle and index fingers on the 2nd fret of these strings. Then we'll play the open 1st string, and then the 2nd fret of the 2nd string twice. And then we have measure 3. We're starting measure 3 playing strings 2 and 3 together, with our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string and our ring finger on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. Then we'll play the 3rd string, and then the 2nd string twice, and then we go to the 2nd fret of the 2nd string with our index finger. Then we'll place our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, playing strings 2 and 3 together. And then we stay on the 2nd string, going back to the 2nd fret, and then the 3rd fret. And now measure 4. We're starting measure 4 on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Then we go to the 2nd fret of the 1st string, back to the 2nd string, and then we're going to the 1st fret of the 1st string, followed by the open 1st string, then the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, then the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and now we have the open 2nd string, and we finish this measure on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. And then measure 5. We're starting measure 5 with the open 2nd string. And And then we form a G chord, placing our index and middle fingers on the 2nd fret of strings 3 and 1, and our ring finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. We'll pick strings 2 and 3 together, then the 2nd string twice, then the 1st string, then the open 1st string, then the 2nd string, and we finish measure 5 on the open 1st string. Then we have measure 6, we're starting this measure with a sequence of notes on the 1st string, starting with the 2nd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, then down to the 1st fret, and then the open 1st string, and then we go to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and we finish measure 6 on the open 2nd string. And now we have measure 7. For this measure, we're going to form our G chord once again, and holding it in place, we'll pick the 2nd string, then the 2nd and 3rd strings together, then the 1st string, and now we're going to go up to the 5th fret, then the 7th fret, down to the 2nd fret, then the open 1st string, and then we'll play the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, and we'll finish measure 7 on the open 1st string. And then we have measure 8, which is our first measure in 2/4 time. We start with the open 2nd string, and then we'll place our middle finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string to pick strings 2 and 3 together, and we'll finish this measure on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Then we move into measure 9. For this measure, we're covering the 2nd fret of strings 2 and 3 with our middle and index fingers. We're going to pick strings 1 and 2 together, then the 2nd string, 3rd string, and we'll finish on the open 1st string. Next, I want to show you the fingering for measure 23. Here we're starting with our index finger on the 5th fret of the 1st string, and our middle and ring fingers on the 7th fret of strings 1 and 2. We're going to pick the 2nd string, then the 1st string, and then we'll lift up our ring finger, and then we'll place it back down on the 7th fret, and then we'll place our pinky on the 10th fret. And for the second half of measure 23, we'll repeat that. And finally, I want to highlight measure 28. The first half of this measure is played the same way as measure 23. And for the second half of this measure, we're moving up to the 10th fret. Here we have our index and middle fingers on the 10th fret of strings 1 and 2, and we'll place our pinky on the 14th fret of the 1st string. We'll pick the 2nd string, then the 1st string, then we'll place our ring finger on the 12th fret of the 1st string, then we'll lift it up to play the 10th fret, and we'll place it back down to play the 12th fret. For more of my easy fingerstyle tabs, see this playlist here. Have fun practicing, and thanks for watching.